Today we're jumping straight into, well, quite a significant development out of Belfast City Council.
Yes, big one. We're talking about their recent vote to adopt a pretty comprehensive new Irish language policy.
Exactly. And this isn't just some minor administrative tweak, is it? It feels like a real cultural and political moment for Belfast, or Bill First, as it's known in Irish.
Absolutely. The sources we've looked at frame this as potentially transformative, but also, perhaps unsurprisingly, highly divisive. It really cuts to the core of ongoing dialogues in Northern Ireland.
So our mission for this deep dive, as always, is to get you beyond the headlines. We've got the details on the vote itself, the specific aims of the policy, and crucially, the very strong reactions from both sides.
And the core aim, just to be clear up front, is really about visibility, isn't it? Promoting the widespread use and, importantly, the visibility of the Irish language in public life right across the city.
Visibility is definitely the key word. I mean, for a long time, the public face of the council in Belfast has been overwhelmingly English.
Almost exclusively, yeah. So this policy, it fundamentally changes that. It's not just about accepting Irish as a minority language. It's about making it an active, visible part of the council's official identity.
Okay, let's get into the specifics then. The council has adopted some mandatory pledges. These aren't small things, are they? What are people actually going to see changing?
Right. These are tangible changes. First off, comprehensive English-Irish bilingual signage is mandated across all council facilities. That's a big visual shift right there.
Okay, signage. What else?
Secondly, and this one has caused quite a stir, the council's adopting a completely new bilingual corporate identity, a new logo.
A bilingual logo.
Yep. And that means pretty much every official communication, every document, every sign-off will reflect both languages.
And this is where we hit that major flashpoint you mentioned in one of the sources.
Yeah.
The logo going on vehicles in uniform.
Exactly. Council vehicles, yes, but critically, staff uniforms, too.
Yeah.
And, the uniforms became a real point of contention. Serious opposition there.
How did that play out in the vote?
Well, the DUP, the Democratic Unionist Party, they specifically tried to block that part. They proposed an amendment to remove the requirement for bilingual writing on staff uniforms.
And how did that go down?
It failed. Quite significantly, actually.
Yeah.
The vote was 42 against the DUP amendment, so in favor of keeping uniforms bilingual, and only 17 supported the DUP's move to block it.
Wow, 42 to 17.
Yeah.
That's a pretty clear statement, isn't it? For listeners who maybe don't follow Belfast Council politics day to day, what does a margin like that signal?
It signals that the political arithmetic in the council strongly favors this kind of policy right now. Nationalist and Republican parties, along with others focused on language rights, hold a comfortable majority.
So it wasn't really a surprise.
Politically, no. The outcome on the uniform vote was probably expected. It confirms the broader demographic and political shifts happening not just in Belfast, but across Northern Ireland. The DUP's stand was, perhaps symbolic, but the numbers weren't on their side for this one.
And the policy itself, it's not just a brief motion. The sources say it's an 18-page document.
That's right. An 18-page policy document, plus there's a high-level implementation plan attached. They're looking at rolling this out over the next 2 years.
2 years. That implies a serious undertaking, administratively.
Oh, absolutely. This isn't just a declaration, it's a work plan. Remember, it was already approved by the Strategic Policy and Resources Committee back in September. Wednesday night's vote was the final ratification by the full council. They've committed resources now.
Okay, so given the scale and the clear political backing, let's look at the supporters. What's their vision? Why is this so important to them?
For supporters, it's fundamentally about equality and recognition. Long overdue recognition, they'd argue. We saw Sinn Féin councillor Tomás Ó Néill calling it transformative, a historic decision.
Right.
He emphasized strengthening the rights of Irish language speakers, and again, that key theme, boosting the visibility of the language. It's about making the language seen and heard in official spaces.
And there was input from outside the council, too.
Yeah.
The incoming Irish language commissioner.
Yes, Paul Deeds. He's currently the deputy chief executive of Fóras na Gaeilge, the all-island body for promoting Irish, set up under the Good Friday Agreement. His comments add significant weight.
What did he say?
He framed the policy as recognizing the growth and spread of the Irish language community, but interestingly, he also talked about it being a potential tool to bring our community together.
A tool for unity. That sounds ambitious, given the context.
It is ambitious. The hope is that elevating the language might actually help bridge divides, maybe enrich life for everyone in the city, not just Irish speakers.
Is that view shared by others?
Definitely. Sharon McShillefine, who's the president of Conrad na Gael, a major language advocacy group, he was incredibly enthusiastic. He said Belfast is set to become a beacon of equality across this island regarding language rights.
A beacon of equality. Strong words.
Yeah, reflecting that sense of a language revival really taking hold, especially, among younger generations. This is seen as the culmination of years, decades even, of campaigning.
And the council leadership itself.
The Strategic Policy Chair, Councillor Natasha Brennan, described it simply as an ambitious and groundbreaking policy. So yeah, from the supporter side, it's viewed as progressive, unifying, correcting past imbalances.
Okay, but as you hinted, Northern Ireland politics, symbols often cut both ways.
Precisely. What feels like unity or equality to one group can feel like an imposition or even a threat to another. And that brings us squarely to the DUP's reaction.
I see.
Immediate and very sharp. Even before the vote, they were calling the policy madness and fundamentally divisive. No beating around the bush there.
Right. What were their main arguments against it? They had specific concerns, didn't they?
They did. Two main pillars, really. First, cost. They argued that the whole rebranding exercise, new logos, signs, vehicles, uniforms, hasn't been properly costed. They're painting it as potentially reckless spending for ratepayers.
Okay, cost is a common political argument. What was the second pillar?
Safety. And this one probably carries more political weight in this context. The DUP sources claim that council staff have actually contacted them.
Staff themselves?
Yes, expressing real concern about their personal safety in certain areas of Belfast if they have to wear uniforms with bilingual writing.
Wow. Okay, that connects language directly to potential physical risk.
It does. And that taps right into those deep historical tensions in Northern Ireland around territory, identity, and visible symbols. Whether it's Irish language or loyalist murals, visible markers have often been used to claim space.
So the fear is that a uniform with Irish on it could make a staff member a target.
That's the concern being raised, yes.
Right.
That staff, especially those who work across different community areas, could face harassment or intimidation if their uniform is seen as aligning with one particular identity group. The DUP is definitely using that historical context to argue against the policy's potential human impact.
It's a serious claim. Do you think the cost argument is just political cover, or is the safety issue their primary concern?
It's probably a combination. Criticizing costs is standard political practice for any big initiative. But the safety argument, that resonates deeply with anxieties about identity politics and community divisions. For the DUP base, this policy likely isn't seen as language equality. It's perceived more as, well, a nationalist assertion of dominance within the council.
And after the policy was actually adopted, what was the DUP's immediate reaction then?
Well, DUP Councillor Sarah Bunting acknowledged the result wasn't a surprise, given the council's nationalist majority basically accepting the political reality we discussed.
But they didn't just accept it and move on.
No, definitely not. Councillor Bunting immediately stated they were signing a legal call-in on tonight's decision.
Right, a legal call-in. Can you just unpack that for us? What does that actually mean in practice? Does it stop everything?
Okay, so a call-in is a specific procedural tool available to minority parties on the council. It allows them to formally challenge a decision, usually on grounds related to equality laws, human rights compliance, or procedural fairness.
So it forces a pause.
Essentially, yes. It forces the council to pause implementation of the decision while it undergoes review. This could be an internal review, or it might escalate things, potentially leading to a judicial review in the courts if they argue the council breached its legal duties.
So it's a formal way to obstruct or at least delay things.
Exactly. It buys the opposition time, forces more scrutiny, and potentially could lead to amendments or changes to the policy, even if the core decision isn't overturned. The political vote might be over, but the legal and administrative fight is just starting.
Okay, that makes sense. So assuming the policy gets through this legal challenge, let's talk about the practicalities. Implementation. How do you actually turn this 18-page document into reality on the streets over the next 2 years?
Yeah, this is where the real heavy lifting begins for the council officials. It's a huge logistical task. We know the design work for the new bilingual corporate identity and logo is already underway.
That sounds complex in itself, getting a design that works well in 2 languages and is politically acceptable.
Absolutely. It needs to be accurate, clear, look professional, and crucially, navigate the political demand for equal prominence or visibility. That's a tricky design brief.
And beyond the logo?
Well, then you've got the sheer logistics, replacing potentially thousands of signs across council buildings and parks, rewrapping vehicles, inventorying, ordering, and distributing new uniforms for potentially hundreds, maybe thousands of staff members. That's a massive operational and financial challenge.
And they have to manage those staff safety concerns the DUP raised. How are they addressing that?
That's critical. The sources specifically mention that the next step involves engaging with the trade unions. This will happen through the council's established industrial relations framework.
So talking to the unions is key.
Vitally important. The council can't just impose a uniform change like this, especially with safety concerns flagged. They have to negotiate, listen to the feedback, address those fears properly. Maybe that means offering alternative options for some staff or specific safety protocols.
Right, so the political fight over uniforms now morphs into an industrial relations negotiation.
Pretty much. It shows that making this policy work isn't just about political will or design flair. It needs really careful human resource management, too, to maintain staff confidence and safety.
It highlights that the two-year plan isn't just a target. It's a complex roadmap with legal, logistical, and HR hurdles.
Definitely. Integrating this new identity across every single council touchpoint while navigating legal challenges and workforce issues, it's a very ambitious timeline.
Okay, let's try and bring this all together. What does this whole episode tell us about Belfast right now? We've got this policy hailed as historic, a beacon of equality, but simultaneously slammed as madness and divisive, and immediately hit with a legal challenge.
I think it really underscores those ongoing cultural and demographic shifts in Northern Ireland. The campaign for greater Irish language recognition has clearly gained significant political ground, certainly within Belfast City Council.
The vote proves that.
Yes, but that political win is just the start. The real friction, the real challenge, lies in the implementation, making that recognition visible in everyday public spaces. And that visibility triggers those deep-seated anxieties about identity, territory, and community safety that are still so potent.
So the battle moves from the council chamber to the design studios and the union negotiation room.
And the lawyers' offices, potentially. It really sets the stage for a mandatory and probably quite contentious transformation of the city's public face over the next couple of years. The language is about to become much more present.
A fascinating period ahead for the city.
It really is. And maybe for you listening, here's something to chew on. We know the DUP focused on financial costs and safety, but thinking more broadly, given the history and the intense connection between language and identity there, what are the other costs and benefits, the non-financial ones, that a city council has to weigh up when it brings in a policy that gets labeled both transformative and divisive at the same time?
The cost of pursuing equality versus the cost of perhaps heightened community tension or perceived insecurity.
Exactly. That's the balancing act, the real challenge facing Belfast right now.